Hello everyone and welcome to today's show with sportsbookreview.com. I'm your host Lee Martin and I'm here to discuss League of Legends with Michael and Kyle. We're going to discuss the Mid-Season Cup tournament that's going to happen this week. The tournament is going to take place on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the guys are going to break down every matchup and as well give their picks for each matchup. But before we get into any League of Legends discussion, like always, real quick, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. That way you never miss a show. Now, let's get to chatting. How are you guys today?
Fantastic, Lee.
No technical difficulties over here. Just pure amazingness with my camera.
Love it, love it.
That's it.
All right. Well, I just want Michael to briefly explain what the Mid-Season Cup is for everyone that has no idea what that is. So, Michael, take it away.
Sure. So the Mid-Season Cup is pretty similar to what happened in the replacements when there was a bunch of random stuff happened because of a walkout, except this walkout was caused by coronavirus. So every year there's normally a tournament in the middle of the season called the Mid-Season Invitational, where the best team from every region goes somewhere else in the world and plays a bunch of games against other good teams. And this year, since coronavirus happened, they can't do that. That would be pretty dangerous, I think. So instead, they have like little regional matchups between different leagues, and this one is between China and Korea.
Okay, well, and that, I'm pretty sure that's what, the LPL and the LCK, correct? Did I get that right?
Indeed.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, now let's get into our matchups then. So, I'm going to start with Kyle for this one. We have T1 versus FunPlus Phoenix, which is also FPX. So the match odds for that on Pinnacle, I have T1 minus 164 and FPX plus 134. Kyle, can you give me your breakdown and pick for that match?
Sure, and this is a pretty exciting matchup to start out. Let's not forget T1 just won the spring session in the LCK, which is the Korean League. For the record, these are my two favorite leagues to bet on, to watch, to play in every format. I really enjoy these two leagues, so I'm really excited about it. One thing that stands out for me, and the odds are pretty similar here in Bovada, we have, and as usual, always shop for the best odds you can find. There's a lot of different markets. Sportsbook Review does a great job of breaking down the best markets to find the best odds, and I would highly recommend doing that. T1 starts on the blue side. And I think that's really important for people to understand. That means they get the first pick, the first ban, etc. So that really does sort of give them an advantage. For me, the favorites in all of these are a little too short. So if I'm going to be playing the favorite, it's going to be a part of a parlay. Otherwise, it's parlay or pass for me. The plus 125 for FunPlus Phoenix, FunPlus Phoenix is one of the best teams in the world. So for me, if I am looking to try to get value out of my pick, I don't like betting $100 only to win 50. I want to expand my winnings. There's an old saying, scared money doesn't make money. So you're going to see me doing a lot of underdog betting on these. All four of these teams are excellent teams, and they could beat these are one-game samples, mind you, each time. So these aren't best of threes or best of fives, which a lot of these teams are used to playing. So for right now, I think even though I do like T1 blue side in this first matchup, if I play the favorite again, it's going to be a parlay for me. But I can find some value plus 125, plus 134 on Pinnacles, even a little bit more enticing. I like that as well.
All right. How about you, Michael? What are your thoughts on T1 versus FunPlus Phoenix on those odds?
Well, normally, similar to March Madness, the first thing I do is I pick the winner of the game based on the name or the mascot. And in this one, we have a Phoenix against a telecommunications company. And I think that the Phoenix would win that fight most of the time. So in the beginning, I'm thinking to myself, China. However, T1, before they were T1, was SKT T1. And that's a fun name. And they have one of the best players of all time. Kyle, above his head, has Michael Jordan. Maybe he thinks Michael Jordan's pretty good. Faker is the Michael Jordan of esports. Some people would say Michael Jordan is the Faker of basketball. I don't know. Some people would say that. I think that everybody wants the Chinese teams to win because the predominant narrative right now is China is better than Korea. FunPlus Phoenix won the World Championship last year, and they think that they're going to continue that momentum in the international tournaments. I think that T1 right now is probably a better team on this patch. FunPlus Phoenix got dominated in the playoffs, and T1 did the dominating in the playoffs. So we have blue side advantage, a worse name, but better on this patch. So I'm going to go T1.
All right. And then, Michael, I want you to follow up on this. For Pinnacle, they have top kills. So T1 kills, they're at minus 187, and FunPlus Phoenix is at plus 139. So out of those two teams, who do you think will have the top kills?
So, I have been doing a little bit of deep diving into the kill totals and stuff like that. It looks like most of the time the kill total is supposed to be between 22 and 25 in almost every matchup, regardless of who's playing. And that's probably a market inefficiency that we'll be able to attack in the future. But right now, I haven't had enough time looking at those kinds of bets to really feel like I have an edge on the sports book. The one bet that I do like in terms of kills, that's one of the other kind of prop bets that they have, is FunPlus Phoenix over 10.5 kills, because this is a good way to get a decent number on them actually winning the game without them having to win the game. If it's a close match and it's like 11 kills to 16 or like 20 to 14, something like that, if you get a high kill score game, then they could lose the game and still cover. So I'm kind of interested in that if I'm going to bet on a kill total in this game instead of like top kills or something like that. The other line that they're posting, I think, was like 24.5 for total combined kills. And that it kind of sounds low, but the first game of a tournament, you're not sure how it's going to play out. There might be a lot of like additional jitters and people trying to get their feet underneath them. So I'd probably stay away from a lot of those prop bets in the first game to see what kind of meta we settle into, because we know what it should be, but we don't know for sure how the teams are reading everything right now.
All right. And Kyle, do you have anything to piggyback off of that? Do you agree with him, or do you have an opinion on the kills?
Sure, yeah. And for me, we talked about that with our first video with Adam, making your bets tell a story, having them make sense. So not every time, but a vast majority of the time, the winning team is going to have the most kills. So if you pick a team to win, piggybacking that with a bet on them having the most kills makes a ton of sense. You're almost crazy not to. One other thing, on Bovada, they kind of have a kill spread of minus 4.5 plus 4.5. I kind of like the idea of taking the value of having T1 win, but having FunPlus Phoenix cover the 4.5 kills. You could easily see a game of 14 to 10, 15 to 11, that sort of deal. So it kind of gives you exposure to some of those parlays where you can find some value in your bets. But for me, if I'm picking a team to win, I'm picking them to have the top kills. It just makes too much sense not to.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll keep that in mind. So let's move on to our next matchup. We have DAMWON Gaming versus Top Esports. And Michael, I'll start with you. Let me give you the odds first. Right now we have DAMWON Gaming at plus 156 and Top Esports at 192 via Pinnacle. So what do you think on those odds, and can you give me your breakdown and pick for that matchup?
Sure. So I think that everyone is kind of undervaluing DAMWON Gaming. They're a good team. They kind of made a charge at the end of the season. Like the patch just started being a little bit better for them. They were playing pretty aggressive, but I'm pretty sure they lost to T1 in the playoffs. And I mean, everybody lost to T1 in the playoffs. Their top laner is pretty good as a carry player. And I think that he'll be better than a lot of the top laners in this tournament. But this one is going to be tough against 369. 369 played really well against Zoom in the LPL finals. So for DAMWON Gaming, if I'm making a bet, I'd probably want to bet on DAMWON Gaming before I knew what the line was. When I projected these lines before I saw the live lines, I had them at plus 200. So I'm not getting enough here because public perception says they should be plus 200 or worse. But I think the book is kind of wise to that, actually. So they're not going to put out a number like that. If I had to make a bet, I'd probably want to go on DAMWON Gaming just to be different. And that's one good thing about playing something like DraftKings is that you can get exposure to a team like DAMWON Gaming at like a lower number. Like I don't have to bet $100 or $50 to run a lineup out there on DraftKings.
Okay. And I'm looking right now, just because we just spoke that you like seeing like the first to 10 kills and stuff like that. I'm looking at DAMWON Gaming is at plus 138 and Top Esports minus 186 for first to 10 kills. What are your thoughts on that, Michael?
So I think that with first to 5 kills and first to 10 kills, the story that you kind of have to tell yourself is that DAMWON Gaming gets out to an early lead in the game and throws it away for one reason or another. That's possible, but that's not something I'd really chase. It's going to be probably in the long run, if you back tested that bet, you would probably find that the winning team gets to 5 and 10 first most of the time anyways, because of the snowballing effect in League of Legends, which just means the team that gets the initial lead generally can just run with it and have a lead throughout the entire game. But one team I would look at is making that bet against JDG, because JDG, they have some games where they kind of throw away leads. And then also whenever T1 is in a game, I might want to do that where I bet on the other team to get to 5 or 10 kills first and then still have T1 win.
Gotcha.
But that's a tough bet. I don't think that hits very often where you're picking the underdog.
Right.
All right. And then Kyle, let's go to you for DAMWON Gaming and Top Esports, just their match odds. Can you give me your breakdown and your pick for that matchup?
Yeah, and we talked about the blue side advantage, and that certainly does help DAMWON Gaming now these two teams haven't played only in scrimmages because they're in two different leagues. So it's kind of hard to tell, but when you look at a team like DAMWON Gaming who played a team like T1 who ended up winning the championship, they were very successful from the blue side. But on the flip side of that, Top Esports was terrific from the red side. In fact, they dominated FunPlus Phoenix from the red side. So I think the margins are short. So I don't love playing the favorite here in terms of just doing a straight up money line bet or picking to win. But I do think Top Esports takes this first game. It's going to be the side of this that I have the most exposure to. I just think with Jackie Love, with Knight, he talked about 369. Top Esports disappointed in the finals in the Chinese league. I think they have something to prove. I think Top Esports takes this first game. Over here on Bovada, we have it at minus 205. One interesting thing I might be able to do is they have the total kills at over under 25.5. DAMWON Gaming tends to not be an overly aggressive team fighting type team. They only averaged 11.1 kills per game. On the flip side of that, Top Esports was at 15.4. So I like the idea of taking Top Esports in the win and going under on the kills. And that might be a way where I can give myself some value by playing the favorite, because I do like Top Esports quite a bit in this matchup.
Perfect.
Yeah. So the one thing I'd say about that is Kyle and I talked about this a little earlier today. I think that the Korean teams are the team that you should anticipate playing more differently than they do in the regular season, because in Korea, they're very focused on their domestic league and they're afraid of like looking stupid in front of everybody else. So in this international tournament, there's a lot less on the line, and I could see them being even more aggressive. And we kind of have seen that. Like last season, the last tournament on DraftKings in the World Championship, I won with a T1 stack because everybody was like, "Oh, the Chinese team just score more," and it's just not always the case. And then the other thing I would say about Top Esports is I want a sports book to put out prop bets about certain champions getting banned or picked, because I think it's almost certain that 369, the top laner for Top Esports, is going to have Aatrox or have it banned against him, because the fact that DAMWON Gaming is on blue side. So if there's any sports book out there that wants to take my money, come into my DMs. Let's see who's right.
As usual, shop your sports books. Look for different things. It's very important.
Exactly, Kyle. Well, Kyle, so I'm going to start with you for this next matchup, because you did mention it. It's T1 versus DAMWON Gaming. And on Pinnacle, it is T1 minus 253 and DAMWON Gaming plus 202. So what is your breakdown and pick for that matchup?
And for me, this is the juiciest value of the whole night. Over on Bovada, it's plus 190, minus 275, so pretty similar. These two teams played twice this last spring session. a total of 5 games. DAMWON Gaming actually won 3 of those 5 games. They split the season average. In the most recent game on April 5th, DAMWON Gaming actually beat T1 2-0. When they were on the blue side, DAMWON Gaming had 10 kills compared to T1 6. So that shows you just how low scoring some of these games can be in terms of kills. You had 16 total kills. That's well under the 23.5 over under. The second game, T1 was on the blue side, had the advantage. DAMWON Gaming still won 17 kills to 7 and won the game. So I think DAMWON Gaming, you have a real reasonable value at plus 190, plus the numbers are there. So for me, I'll take my chances there. Like we said, scared money doesn't make money. And for me, this is gives you the most reasonable odds. It gives you the most information anyways in terms of playing an underdog, 2 teams who have played each other. T1's obviously the champion, but I think DAMWON Gaming has something to prove here. They've showed success against T1. So give me T1 plus 190 plus 205, I think you said. Is that right? I'm getting old, so my memory.
DAMWON?
For Pinnacle. Yeah, for DAMWON Gaming.
T1. Okay, so T1 at Pinnacle is minus 253 and DAMWON is plus 202. There you
plus
go.
202. So yeah, give me that. I mean, all day long.
All right. How about you, Michael? What do you think about this matchup and those odds?
It's a total trap game. T1's going to win this one pretty easily. I think that Kyle is looking at the regular season. You should definitely do that. Take in as much information as you can. But I think the book is trying to trick you right now. So if you were thinking about betting on DAMWON Gaming in this spot, you should take half of that money and just send it to me because I saved you that other half of that money. You're welcome.
Thank you. All right.
There's just no edge here. I really just don't see any edge here. I think I'm kind of surprised that these books have been so cautious with how they're putting out their lines because DAMWON Gaming versus T1, like they're showing that they're taking a 5% rake, which is lower than what I normally see on like BetDSI or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. They're basically saying T1 wins it 72% of the time, and it's that easy for someone to go out there and find the match results from this season and see that DAMWON Gaming won 3 out of the 5 games. So they've won 60% of the games. Even if you reverse one of those games, it's 40% of the games. That's a 7% edge over what they're offering, the implied win rate. So it just seems fishy to me. I wouldn't want to touch that.
All right. I just have like a little note, and I know it's nothing like what you guys said, but I read somewhere that T1 is the favorite based off of their spring split form. So that's basically why they're the favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's right. And if you look at the futures, they're the first.
We talked about this.
The
esports markets are very inefficient. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to find mistakes in them anyways. I do think they're getting a little bit better as more and more information is there and more people have been betting on it simply because conventional sports haven't been around.
Yeah.
But for me, you can find a team who has won 60% of the games and the odds that Mike just talked about. I think it's worth taking a shot. I think it's crazy not to. And there's certainly something to be said. If I take the favorite side, if I'm trying to hedge myself, then I just parlay that. I'll take T1 with the minus 6.5 kills. I'll maybe go over the total kill score and then throw T1 in just so I can get some value in my bet. I'm not interested in making $40 off a $100 bet. That's just not something that excites me. Mm-hmm. Now that's certainly something you can do, but for me, I'm trying to find value and find ways that it makes the most sense. So if you want to hedge, parlay it with the favorites, but I do like the value of the straight money line, the straight win line for DAMWON Gaming. I just think it's too juicy to pass up when they've won 60% of the games.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next matchup. So, Michael, I'll start with you for this one. We have FunPlus Phoenix versus Top Esports. On Pinnacle, FunPlus Phoenix is plus 107 and Top Esports is minus 129. What are your thoughts on those odds? Give me your breakdown and pick for that matchup.
Sure. So this is a similar spot to the last game in terms of what I expect the books to do and what I expect the public side to be. I think the public side is going to be on FunPlus Phoenix. I think the sportsbook knows that. I think they want you to bet on FunPlus Phoenix, which is why they hung it at plus 107. Based off of what I was thinking before the lines were actually posted, I thought that FunPlus Phoenix would actually be the favorite here at minus 120, something in that range. So I would prefer to be on the Top Esports side. Even at minus 129, if I had to make a bet, I would bet on Top Esports. I think it's kind of another trap spot.
Okay. Kyle, what do you have to say for that matchup? What would be your pick? For
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
and I kind of agree with Mike. They just played on April 20th. Top Esports won that match 2-0. Tale of two different games. So especially if we're talking about the kills over under, which I have here on Bovada at 26.5. The first game that they played, FPX actually had one more kill than Top Esports, and they had 45 kills in one single game. That is a massive, massive kill total for a game. That just means they're doing nothing but attacking each other, but yet Top Esports still won. In game 2 of that match, Top Esports won, and they were on the blue side, which they are on the red side for this game. When Top Esports was on the blue side, there was only 14 kills in that game. It was 12-2. So you could see kind of the wide range of outcomes. So this gives me a bit more pause. I do like the over in the kills because FunPlus Phoenix is on that blue side, and I do think they cover the kill spread of +4.5. But I still like Top Esports to win. I just think they're the better team.
All right, wonderful. Now.
Well, so before we move on, sorry.
No, you're good.
I think that in that first game, I'm pretty sure the reason why the kill score got out of control is because in a game of League of Legends, there are several like macro objectives that are going to happen throughout the game. And I'm pretty sure that the lead exchanged hands like 2 or 3 times in that game, which kind of explains why there were so many more confrontations in the game and team fights. So I think that obviously there's always the chance that a game will explode like that, but it's going to require teams to like kind of going back and forth in terms of who's winning the game. And that's really like not an expected outcome. The snowballing is really a lot more common, especially with these two teams because they're pretty good in general with the macro. In terms of the matchups, I think that Top Esports has an advantage in the mid lane with Knight. So
right.
DAMWON is the bigger name. Knight is the better player. And then the bot lane as well. I think that Jackie Love is actually just a better AD carry. So I do want to be on the Top Esports side in this game.
All right. Well, I'll keep that in mind. So let's move on to our next matchup. We have FunPlus Phoenix versus DAMWON Gaming. On Pinnacle, it is FunPlus Phoenix -186 and DAMWON Gaming +152. Michael, I'll start with you on this one. Again, what do you think on the match odds, breakdown, and pick for this matchup?
Sure. So I think that regardless of who starts in the top lane for FunPlus Phoenix, I think that the public perception is going to be that they're better than Nogri, who's the top laner for DAMWON Gaming. In the jungler, we have Tion versus Canyon. I think that Tion's a better jungler. In the mid lane, it's DAMWON versus Showmaker. They're pretty similar. I think Showmaker probably has more of an aggressive streak in him and can kind of carry a game in a more showy kind of way. DAMWON is more of a team player and can like play around the map a little differently. So he can like split away from the rest of his team, bait the enemy team into making a bad decision and then capitalize on it, which is actually like extremely difficult to do. And then in the bot lane, it's kind of a wash, I think. So I think it's much closer than most people will say. And I don't expect the number to be this high by the time we get to this third day or to this third set of matches. I think that DAMWON Gaming is going to kind of show people in the first 2 games that they have that they're not outclassed by all of these teams. So I would think that the numbers will get smaller after that second game against T1, because all they have to do really is show that they can compete with one of these teams, and it's going to attract some money onto them. So 152, I don't know if I don't really want to bet 152. If they look like garbage in the first 2 games, then I will bet them at a higher number. If they look good in the first 2 games, then I'll wait for the FPX number to come down.
Okay. What do you have to say, Kyle? What is your pick for that one? And give me a little explanation for that.
For this one, this is probably the hardest one for me to pick. Again, these are going to be the third set of games. So I do think there's value in, like Mike said, watching the books, seeing what's happening. And if you can stay up this late or up this early, depending on which coastline you are on, there is an advantage to watching how those other 2 games play out, because you could have a scenario where maybe FunPlus Phoenix was upset in both the first and the second round, or they were beat badly and they're 0-2 and they need a win to sort of stay in the competition to move on to the next round, that of course inspires teams. And again, we're talking about 1-game sample sizes. If you think back, if you're older like me, the 2001 Lakers, one of the most dominant playoff runs ever. Well, they lost one postseason game, and that game happened to be game 1 against a very overmatched Philadelphia 76ers team. So my point is, anything can happen in a 1-game sample size, especially if one of these teams is behind in the standings and need that win. I think you'll see them start making some adjustments, and they're also going to be watching these other teams play. So watching that line, if that line moves more friendly where I'm getting more value at FunPlus Phoenix, I'm all over it. If it moves the other direction, if DAMWON Gaming's looked terrible in their first 2 games and that number gets even bigger on the plus side, then I'm going to be all over DAMWON Gaming. So I'm really going to sort of use the information I gather during those 2 sets of matches to help me decide what I want to do in these third set of matches. And just for one thing, I kind of like the under in the kill score on this, 25.5. I think by then these teams are watching each other. You could see a more cautious approach and maybe take more of a scaling approach, waiting to the late game and try to take over that way, playing around dragons and barons, etc.
All right.
So just to be annoying one more time, I think that what you really need to ask yourself is, how do you think FunPlus Phoenix is going to play in the first 2 games, and make a bet on this game for FunPlus Phoenix based on how you answer those questions. So if you think that FunPlus Phoenix is going to beat T1 or Top Esports, their number is going to be a lot different here, because everybody else playing against DAMWON Gaming is like minus 250 and then minus 250. So everybody's expected to just destroy this team, but they're making it a little bit lower for FunPlus Phoenix, and that's because they had them as underdogs in the first 2 games. So if FunPlus Phoenix pulls off one of those upsets, this number is going to shoot up to minus 200. So if you want to bet on FunPlus Phoenix, you'll probably have to bet it before those games start. But if you're someone who, like me, who believes in T1 and believes in Top Esports, then you'll want to wait for FunPlus Phoenix.
All right, gotcha. Keep that in mind again. So let's go to the final matchup. It is T1 versus Top Esports. On Pinnacle, T1 is minus 127 and Top Esports is plus 105. Kyle, I'm going to start with you this time. What do you think on those odds? Again, break down and pick for that matchup.
Well, I got to say, I love those odds on Pinnacle for Top Esports, because on Bovada, it's minus 130 and minus 105. So sign me up for that's a very important example of shopping the books for each game and finding the odds. These markets are certainly inefficient. This is the match I'm most looking forward to. These are 2 fantastic teams. I do think T1 has the advantage being on the blue side on this, but we have seen Top Esports dominant. I do think this is the match to decide who wins the group. This will decide the number 1 seed out of the group, in my opinion. Right now, I am leaning T1 to win that. If I'm playing on Pinnacle with those odds, it's going to be hard for me not to just swallow that and play the odds and go for the win, because like I said, I'm not big on playing a ton of favorites because they always seem short to me. I know Flash often feels that way as well, and I completely agree. I also like the over on the kills, over 25.5. I think this game goes over in kills. T1 would be my pick to win it, but I love those odds for Top Esports. It'd be hard for me to ignore that.
All right, how about you, Michael? What are your thoughts on that matchup?
You know, I think that this game is kind of this day of games is going to throw everybody through a loop, because I think that if everyone just goes into this assuming that the Chinese teams are more aggressive, more bloody, and these games are going to follow that kind of game script instead, I think people are forgetting that FunPlus Phoenix and Top Esports are 2 of the more conservative teams in China. And that just means that happens because they play the macro game better. They're out there trying to win every individual game. They don't need to destroy people with kills in order to win the game. So I could see a lot of these games going under and look more like what we've seen in North America. Like those, it's a little bit more boring, but it's like 16-8 or something like that, or 14-10. I think that a lot of these numbers are going to end up being under. because they're going to be somewhat close. Like if both teams decide that they want to play the macro game, they're going to have less opportunities in like 5-on-5 team fights, and that's going to significantly limit the upside of kills in these games. So I hope, for everybody's sake, that they're higher kill score games and more interesting to watch for the normal person. I love the macro stuff, so I'm fine either way. But I think that I kind of hope that it's the way that I was saying, where it goes under, just so that everybody else was wrong. I gotta be honest. I'm a contrarian. I mean, I can't help myself. That's just what I want.
Yeah.
I've got problems.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree, but I think these guys are going to take the gloves off. This is going to be exciting. Two of the more exciting leagues in the league. They're going to let the gloves off, beat up on each other, especially this last round when maybe they already have the top 2 seeds locked up. They're going to go after it.
Like you said, if this game decides who's going to have the number 1 seed going into the next round, like I could see it kind of clenching up, if you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
All right, so I guess we'll see what happens. Again, day 1 is tomorrow, and we just covered all the matchups for tomorrow, aka day 1 with Group A. Again, thank you guys so much for your time. If you aren't following the guys on Twitter, definitely give them a follow. You can follow Michael at League of Items, and you can follow Kyle at DFS Bachelor. And like always, hit that bell button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you never miss a show. If you're not following SBR's Twitter page, then give us a follow at SBR Sports Picks, as well as our Instagram page at SBR Sports. All right? Well, again, thank you guys so much for dropping some knowledge for tomorrow's tournament. I'll see you guys around.